Welcome to 20 Minute Tabletop, a podcast sharing the love of all things tabletop gaming in bite-sized pieces. I'm your host, John Wicke, here today with my co-host, Stevie.
It's an elegant evening of fine dining, followed by a side of blackmail and a dessert of murder. That's right, it's time to step back into Stevie's Clue-niverse as we solve puzzles, track down clues, and look to solve Mr. Boddy's murder in Clue, Treachery at Tudor Mansion, an escape and solve mystery game.
So let's flip to the back of the box to find out what this game is all about. Escape Tudor Mansion, solve the mystery. A classic Clue story in an escape room board game. You and 5 other guests have been invited to join Boddy Black for an evening of fine dining and a chance to discuss some personal business. After dinner, he announces he intends to blackmail you all. Shortly after, the power cuts out and you find Mr. Boddy dead. Armed with only your wits, you must escape and determine who killed Mr. Boddy, where they did it, and with what weapon. So, let's start with our first impressions of this escape room board game.
So when I first saw this, I was like, okay, this is a Clue-style escape room. But I wasn't sure how they were going to replicate the whole person, place, item, solve of Clue. But the rest enough, honestly, was enough to pique my interest.
Yeah, I'm a fan of escape rooms and mystery solving games. I love to piece together puzzles, and especially when there are physical pieces involved, it's really cool. So I was excited to see this take on Clue.
So let's talk about the setup. The setup starts with a large red stop. The game has no real setup. There's some dramatic text to read at the beginning. Everyone chooses their character card and color match pawn. From there, the game begins and you walk through the rooms of the mansion, building the game board and uncovering clues as you go.
So if there's no setup, how are we going to solve this mystery?
Let's turn to the mechanics. The basics of the game are simple. You move your pawn around the board to numbered locations. Each number has a corresponding card that you read and follow. When you complete all you can do with that card, it's the next player's turn.
This is very much a game of teamwork, so you always read the card aloud. There are several different kinds of cards that you could come encounter with. So the first is a narrative card. Most of the cards are this type. You tell a piece of the story and you give direction on how to act. It may be to reveal some more of the map or take an item card.
Then there's puzzle cards. These are multiple cards that need to be combined to solve a problem. They can be a visual riddle or puzzle that you use to uncover more information. They advance the game with items, locations, and further clues. They're usually part of the key to solving the mystery. And in the end, they reveal a number or numbers, which are further cards to draw. The booklet has hints if you get stuck, though, to help you out.
Next kind of card you can get is an item card. So these are found and meant to be freely shared among the players. You use these to help solve the puzzles and act as a cipher sometimes to solve those puzzles as well.
There are clue cards, and these are the cards that are kept and used to help solve the final mystery. You keep them with you face up until the end and piece together a solution with the rest of the table.
And the last type of card are overlay cards. These are really fun because they change the board. So you may solve a part of the board causing something to open up, and then you lay out a card over the board that lines up and adds something visual. However, in addition, it will add more numbered locations to explore. So for example, if you've seen the Clue movie, it would be the equivalent of opening the freezer and the cook's body falling out so that you have to add a body to the freezer now that you know it's there.
I had to stop her screaming. Over time, you'll add more locations to the mansion. As you do this, you'll add to the game board and pull out new decks of cards to use. At the end of the game, you solve the murder and see if you were right and read the appropriate ending.
And that's it. That's all there is to playing the game. So let's talk about what we enjoyed about this game.
I think this is one of the best escape rooms in a box that we have tried within under $40 price point. The puzzles were varied and clever, and while everything has a numerical solution, there are red herrings and misdirection throughout the game. Much like communism, it's a red herring. The ability to answer puzzles incorrectly also adds to the mystery.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to do a mystery in a box game. The puzzles were fun, everything had great theming, staying true to Clue, and the whole family had fun solving it together. I also really love building the board, and the overlay cards made for such a really fun experience. So you don't have the full mansion up front, you just have a piece of it. And you need to find your way through it and solve the mysteries and build as you go. And I'm really a sucker for building a board as you go as part of a game.
Yeah, those overlay cards are really fun in how they change the board. Without any spoilers, it's nice to not just solve and find something, but instead, this actually changes the game board and has the visuals to go with it. And then it gives you more to explore, like you gave the example of finding the cook's body in the kitchen. It could be the same as when Scarlet and Mustard find the secret passages in the film. You know, you don't know they're there till you know they're there, and as a result, you change the board appropriately so that it's apparent to others.
Yeah, it's so cool because you build the board out, which is fun of its own because you don't necessarily know what's there. You might know there's a gap here, and you know that the rooms continue on, but you don't know what's there. And then having that go further and change the board that you put out and build as you go is just really, really fun aspect. And it doesn't give away spoilers, but it really enhances the experience, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really clever.
Honestly, the puzzles are really a highlight of this game. You need multiple cards to piece it together and all the details to figure them out. So again, staying spoiler free, there's a mix of more logic puzzles to solve things, while others being purely visual that you need to examine and figure out what is going on. And the way they combine the pieces of information is really, really well done.
Yeah, the theming definitely doesn't let down. It's not just an escape room mystery box, it's very clearly a Clue escape and solve mystery box. You have the classics of the mansion with the twists and additions, so you get everything you'd want from Clue, and Mr. Boddy, but it doesn't fail to have surprises up its sleeve as well.
It also gave a great story to work out in the mystery, which is important to feel like there is real payoff, for the solve. It was fun working around the mansion, uncovering the pieces and trying to find out who did it, but also what everyone that didn't do it was also up to in the mansion.
Right, you're uncovering not just the who, the where, and the how, but okay, if this person was committing the murder, where were you? What were you doing at that time? And it's a little bit more like investigative in that manner. When you get those pieces of information, you have to kind of trace everyone's movements, so to speak.
Yeah, it's really a part of solving it. I think my favorite thing overall is the replayability of the game. Now, no, you can't replay the game as the solution does not change, so we can't replay it. However, the clue cards, the mysteries are solved in a non destructive way while still requiring interaction. And so you don't need to fold or tear or write anything on them. You do need to align, overlap pieces, use items, and solve ciphers. So it's a fantastic balance of having these fun, interactive ways to solve these puzzles while still leaving it open to being able to pack it back up and pass the mystery on to someone new so someone else gets to play it and solve it. And I really just love that.
Case in point, we packed this up and passed it on to my parents, who also played and enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I think it's a really great, game design part of it.
Right. And I think there are other games, which I also enjoy, where you do destroy the items as you go through, and there's not an ability to reuse those in the same way. Those are like very much one and done. You can't pass those on. Whereas this, you do completely have the ability to put it back together the way, because without spoilers, you'll figure out what we're talking about once you play it. But there's clearly a very specific way to put everything back in the box, so it's the way that it was when you started. It's not hard to figure out, and once you do that, you can hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah, and I think the other great thing about this is it was fun for the whole family. We were all able to play it together, solve the puzzles. The kids enjoyed trying to solve the puzzle. And there's some that were a little more difficult that we were the ones to figure it out first, and could give them hints down the line. And even if you struggle, there's hints in the booklet for you to help you along the right path. So, like, it was great because they loved trying to collect the pieces and figuring out how you knew which cards go together to solve, and had just a blast with it. So it was really fun for everybody to all play together to try to solve the murder and see who did it.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a good family game if you have little ones. Well, not little ones. If you have kiddos that like puzzles. So let's talk about how long it took us to play. The game is set up for 1 to 6 players, recommended as 10 and up with a 90-minute playtime. It definitely does take time to work through it all, but for something you're going to play once, you also don't want it to go by too quickly.
So also, some other things to call out. This is a series of escape and solve mysteries under the Clue branding from Hasbro. So some others include Robbery at the Museum, Sabotage on the High Sea, The Midnight Hotel, and The Illusionist Clubs. They go up to a full 5 of 5 difficulty, but The Illusionist Club is difficulty 4. And so they all have this rating on it to let you know how hard they are going to be to solve as well.
Yeah, I definitely think Treachery at Tudor Mansion is a good starting point because it is that classic Clue setup that you're expecting. And all you're really doing is understanding how they've turned this into a mystery game. TJ and I have also played the Sabotage on the High Seas. And knowing the format of how the game works definitely was an aid to us because we were in a completely new location with new people, new storyline, but understanding, okay, this is the format of the game is really what helped the two of us succeed.
Silly me was going to say, and we own more, we haven't played them yet, but I guess just I haven't gotten to play them yet.
Well, we own, I think, almost everyone that has come out, and we've only had a chance to play the Treachery at Tudor Mansion, and like I said, TJ and I played Sabotage on the High Seas, which I think was a 3 out of 5, I want to say. I could be wrong, though.
So I think, this short episode, but let's wrap it up with our final thoughts on Clue Treachery at Tudor Mansion.
I really liked it. I need more, which obviously we own. The price point is amazing. At the time of recording, all the ones I found were under $20. And I can't wait to play them all and then pass them on to our friends.
I really had a lot of fun with this. I think it was a good price point, especially given that you get to pass it along pretty easily. I think that kind of adds to that value at that price. I think the mystery that was a 2 of 5 difficulty was a really good starter, really great level for the whole family. And I really want to take on, some of the more difficult mysteries and see how those puzzles go and how much harder they do get.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see, knowing what the jump was from a 2 to a 3 in terms of difficulty, I'm curious to see what happens when we go to a 4 out of 5 difficulty.
Well, I'm your host, John Wiki, and you can find me on Threads and Instagram as John_Wiki_games. It's WICKEE, or on Blue Sky as johnwiki.morecore.studio.
And I'm Stevie, and you can find me on social media as Stevies_games.
20-Minute Tabletop is a Morecore Studios production. Theme song by Arthur Rowan, Morecore art by Sita Duncan. Do you want more tabletop gaming fun? Subscribe to 20-Minute Tabletop on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like what you hear? Leave us a review while you're there or tell a friend. Find out more on our website, 20mintabletop.com. That's the numbers 20mintabletop.com. Or connect with us on Threads and Instagram as @20mintabletop, @20mintabletop. Thank you and roll with fortune.
And from there, the game begins, and you walk through the rooms of the mansion, building the game board and uncovering clues as you go.
This has been another thrilling episode of Stevie's Clue-niverse.